and welcome to the latest episode of The Hex with John Arnold, Armand Kafai, and Daniel Robertson. We are so excited to talk about a full slate of the MLS weekend. We have got bangers in the CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals, and it's the 30th anniversary of MLS this weekend. So we've got some walk down memory lane. So stay with us. The 6 hottest topics in MLS. This is The Hex. A 15-game Saturday slate. I guess they didn't play on Sunday because of Easter. It was,
I think so.
Yeah, totally packed Saturday, as packed as it can get Saturday of MLS, just games up and down. So we've got to start with our winner of the weekend. And Armand, we're going to kick it over to you for this one. Where are you looking for the MLS winner of the weekend?
I'm looking in Vancouver, guys. I mean, what a comeback that was, right? Like, they were down going into the late stages of the match. And I think that last play and their last goal kind of exemplifies like Vancouver as a whole, and specifically Sebastian Berhalter.
That was a sweet play.
I mean,
that was a sweet play.
I mean, he made the tackle. He looks exhausted. I was like, people are talking about this, but I'm like, oh, let me just like stare at Berhalter the entire time. And you watch him, he's just slowly getting up. You can clearly see he's like totally fatigued. Vancouver marches down the field. And then he just pops up for that rebound, bangs it in, and they end up with a win. Look, getting a win over your Cascadia rivals is super important, I'd probably say. And especially for Vancouver, who, I mean, they got bounced out of the CCC. And look, you need to continue what they were building off of
last weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. So you need to build off what they had. And I think I kind of want to even go a little bit further. And I think winner of the weekend for me is Berhalter as a whole. He has 3 months left on his deal, guys. Can Vancouver get him signed before? Well, it's not 3 months left, but 3 months before he can get signed by other teams to pre-contract deals. His contract expires. They still haven't agreed.
I thought you were saying he was done in the summer, and I was like, "How did that happen?"
That's not how MLS deals work.
but
they anticipated the schedule change and got it just a little wrong.
Dude, just off by 1 year. But teams have a chance to sign him. It's like, what's going to happen with Berhalter? Is he just going to continue riding this off into the World Cup? If he makes the roster, and then, kind of taking a risk and seeing what happens over there, maybe a European team after the World Cup will send an offer. Maybe Vancouver have to give a bigger offer. But I mean, when I think of the Whitecaps, Berhalter is one of the guys that's like one of the marquee guys for them. So for me, that play is just like
going out on a limb with that one.
I mean, what would most people say? Most people would say Mueller. I don't think most people would say Berhalter.
But Mueller's not going to go up. If you're saying like who could they lose in the transfer market, I don't think anyone's going to pick. Like, he chose Vancouver for a reason.
He looked great though. Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting to me that Vancouver hasn't gotten this done, right? Like, does that kind of tell me that he is going to test the waters?
It's one of those situations where he has control of his own destiny, right? Like, he can control. It's like the hack situation. It's like what was it, the Freeman situation that we kind of all talked about, where these guys are now saying, okay, well, like, do we really need to sign these deals, or like, can we hold off as much as possible? And okay, the worst case scenario is we sign an MLS for maybe a little bit less than the top, but the best case is you go on a potential, European adventure or get more from a different MLS team. So I mean, again, I think it's just another example of these MLS players saying, hey, like, we want to be able to control the market conditions that we're in, even though it's kind of limited with the CBA that they signed back in 2021 or 2020.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like that deal with Berhalter might be the last big name that I want to say teams are kind of screwed a little bit on with before the schedule change, because this situation will never happen again once the schedule change happens with an awkward 6 months off. But John, who are you liking from the weekend?
I'm picking a player as well. I'm picking Wissam Abu Ali.
Yeah,
I think that a lot of people were sort of saying, well, Columbus looks bad. And of course, when you have a signing as splashy as he was, you're expecting something big. And he delivered something big this weekend with a pair of goals, one of which was like a highlight reel strike that you see, again and again, that'll, I think, win goal of the week if it hasn't already. There were some good ones this weekend, but, I don't know that Columbus did enough to be the winner of the weekend. They did win the game 3-1, but I think specifically for the forward performing, and not only did he score the 2 shots he put on target, he had 2 shots that didn't quite hit. He was active in the box. It's a game that, like, I don't want to say that the loser of Atlanta United against Columbus, which ended up being Atlanta United in a 3-1 game, in part because of what Abu Ali did. Like, I don't want to say, oh, you got to hit the panic button or all but while it's early, Both of these teams, I think, expected more. Now, at least Columbus has a victory. And I think the pressure, if you say, if Columbus keeps, sliding after this game, Abu Ali can point to, well, it's not my fault. It's not on me. I'm not the DP that's the problem. I'm not the player that's the problem. It's someone else. Not that would be the direct, but I think you take a lot of pressure off yourself when you score and do it in a high profile way, especially when you're a forward and that's your job. So for me, can't be much better of a weekend for him with the 2 goals.
Yeah, I'm looking at his expected goals numbers, like on American Soccer Analysis, kind of, and you see, because he's played a lot of minutes this year. It's not that he hasn't been playing, which is obviously a good thing. He does have about the same expected goals that you would expect from the kind of, he's in the same forwards as everyone else, very, very close in those numbers. So he is getting the chances. So that's great to see him score. Armand, I'm going back to Cascadia for my team of the week, or my winner of the week. I could take a player. I'm going to take the team. If you want to take a player, we'll go Andrew Thomas on the Seattle Sounders. I think if we were to talk goalkeeper of the year right now, does he make? I mean, Hugo Lloris is not allowed a goal, so it's tough to it's tough to not give it to Hugo Lloris. They're getting back to form. Areola is looking pretty good in attack, coming off that ACL tear. It looks like he's getting back. Jordan Morris is getting more healthy. They've played 5 road games in a row, the Sounders. They've gone 3-0-1 in their last 4. They've gotten the points they need as they were transitioning, and I believe they've been on the road because they've been transitioning Lubin Field to grass, from the turf. Yep. So now they've got the points. They've gotten 10 points in the last 4 games on the road. They are off next week, so they have that bye in between the 2 Tigres games. Then they go home for 4 games in a row. They don't play on the road again until May 5th, guys. Seattle Sounders, Andrew Thomas, John, racking up the points right now.
Well, and the fact that this was an alternate lineup, and the fact that, like, you talk about the schedule breaking, right? There's no way that anyone could have foreseen, it'll be Sounders Tigres when the schedule was developed, and yet you're in Houston, so they were able to just stay and hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, it's really close geographically. Houston's way closer to Monterrey than Seattle is, so they were just able to stay there. They're able to rest their players and still get 3 points. I think like Albert Rusnak, Jordan Morris came in late. A couple of other guys didn't play. And so you're still getting performances from guys like Snyder Burrell and like these other sort of like, hey, the Sounders are doing it again, right? They just seem to have this factory of players right now where, you sold Obed Vargas to Atleti, here's another one. If the Roldans if one of the Roldans need a rest, we got another homegrown we can stick in there. It's really impressive, and I think that speaks to what they're doing so far. Being able to get a victory as they prepare for CONCACAF Champions Cup and have the break. Tigres have to play Chivas in between. So, I mean, and they need all the points they can get because they're not guaranteed to make the postseason. So, look, you got to do it on the field. We'll see if we're still talking about them as a winner after the midweek match. But, have to be impressed by the weekend.
One team that has been underwhelming in recent weeks, they did get 1 win in New York, but it's Inter Miami, guys, and they opened up new stadium, which it was hilarious how many times they kept saying on the MLS broadcast, like, new stadium. Oh, what's the stadium called? It's New Stadium. And to make it even more funny, new, this is my world, the sponsorship world. New is a Brazilian banking company and a rival to Inter & Co., where their rivals Orlando City play. So not only are the 2 rivals on the field, they are rivals in Brazilian banking companies sponsoring their stadiums. And New's colors are purple and Inter & Co.'s colors are pink in many of their ads. So,
also, Inter is named Inter.
And they're
like Inter Miami,
so
but
there's a lot going on there. But Inter Miami struggled, I would say, to a 2-2 draw against Austin in that opening game. And looking back, guys, obviously knocked out by Nashville in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, a huge blow to their season. And when you go a little bit farther back, they've only won 1 game out of their last 5 there. I don't want to say struggling to score goals, but I think they are struggling to create a little bit of chances. John, they just looked a little bit off right now. Do you think they should be worried, especially after a game like Saturday, that you just expected, rubber stamp, we're going to win this game?
Well, I think that we sort of expected rubber stamp Inter Miami is going to be better and they were going to be a great team because of how impressive the winter additions were. And yet, when you kind of go down the line of what we were impressed by, I'd say like number 1 goalkeeper of the year, Dane St. Clair. He's been good, not great, I would say. It's hard to kind of say, well, it's his fault that they've had any of these disappointing results, but there's moments. Number 2, Berterame. Wow, they signed the best forward, the best finisher in Liga MX, an Argentine-born guy. He hasn't clicked. They actually got benched in this game. He comes in and played well. I think, kind of maybe the game where he most found a click, like really was able to connect. Maybe it's a harsh standard, but like if you're a forward and you can't play with Lionel Messi, like people are going to ask questions, and they should, right? And then the final one is we said, oh well, they've got this perfect replacement for Sergio Busquets in the midfield, and I think that's the one where you see and I guess left back as well, right? That's all 4 of the places where we're saying, yeah, they got a replacement, like only St. Clair and Ayala are the 2 of that 4 that played. And replacing Busquets, while it's a difficult task, like it doesn't feel like you can say job done. So I would say like that's where to me this team is falling short, is like we thought these additions were all going to be, every ceiling has been raised in each of these 4 categories, and it just simply hasn't been the case. So I think maybe it's on us for having those expectations. But Miami, with the stadium being open, with Lionel Messi still there, with saying, oh, we're going for CONCACAF Champions Cup now, to their credit, they also have the ambition to be that good. So, I don't know that I'd say, oh, we had our standard too high. It's just that maybe it's not as easy to snap your fingers after a great offseason and make it all work on the field. So every time we talk about Inter Miami, I kind of come to this place, Armand, where I'm like, is Mascherano the problem?
Yep. You wanted to say it. I knew you wanted to say it.
I don't know, man. But I'm not convinced that he is.
Armand, what are you seeing?
They got smashed early by that press of Austin. It looked like they had no idea what they were doing when they were trying to build out of the back. Like constantly, Austin was just kind of all over them with the press. And then if you actually look at the expected goal numbers and stuff like that, like Miami had a ridiculous amount of XG in that game against Austin. Austin kind of survived later on in the match, but
6 saves from Stuver.
Yeah, I'm a little, but I'm worried about Berterame mainly, to be honest, because
not being started in the stadium opening game. Yeah, that's
when I saw that, and they don't have match congestion to deal with anymore. They're out of CCC, and this is like the prize signing that we were all talking about. This guy, Berterame, comes in with great Liga MX pedigree and has just almost been snake bitten. Just hasn't been able to score. Has worked really hard in situations. And that was the key addition that we were talking about when it comes to, okay, yeah, we know that they're good offensively, but you're adding a forward in Berterame who's supposed to clean up a lot of those things that they were missing early on, and they don't get anything out of that. Look, Mikael has been fine, like okay. I don't think he's been amazing, but I think he's been okay. But it goes back to what you were talking about, John. It's the Busquets replacement. I think we might have overlooked, hey, how hard is it to replace Sergio Busquets, an all-time deep lane playmaker, an all-time central midfielder who's able to kind of make it work and distribute from the back? That's where.
And DePaul hasn't really been what you would expect from him.
He's been bad, and he's getting, I think, pressure now, national team-wise as well, too. All the stakes are being raised.
And there was one play in the second half that really summed up for me what was wrong. And to me, it's all about the outside backs. I mean, obviously, everything we mentioned here. But Messi had a play where they're pushing for that tying goal. How many times have we seen him get his ball 25 yards back to goal, turn and play a ball to Alba coming down the left wing? The winger is cutting in, and you just have these numbers pushing forward. He played that exact ball, and it went straight out of bounds. It was in between 2 players. They weren't there, and it was the exact ball where he expects Alba to be there. And what is it? Ian Frey, Noah Allen, they're not there. And nothing against them.
I mean, they had Regulon, right? But they signed Regulon to be their replacement. Right. But like, that's a guy who struggled with the injuries, and he's injured. Like, it's a bummer. And you can say, oh, he's not there. But like, it is something. And I think like Allen and Frey are 2 guys who as well are young players who have come up with the team. But Daniel, sometimes they're center backs, and sometimes they're in the midfield, and sometimes they're fullbacks. And I think it's really difficult to understand, like, even for a player as great as Messi, when he's setting you up, if you're used to doing one thing or another, when you're doing your third best position, maybe that's not, probably no Allen's second best position, but I think it gets really difficult. Yeah. I'm going to hijack this and ask a new question. Sorry, Daniel. What's y'all's rate of panic out of 10, 0 to 10? And I'm talking like, that they won't lift a trophy this season, 0 to 10. What's the 10 being the worst, panic bells ringing, they're not going to lift a trophy. 0 being, I guarantee they're going to lift silverware this season.
Well, I'm going to put an 8 because I think that it's, I mean, they have 2 trophies left. They've only got 2 left. So they've got Leagues Cup and they've
MLS Cup.
I mean, I think Supporter Shield is gone for them. I don't see them
already.
Supporter Shield team. Well, remember, the transfer window is closed. One thing that Miami does really well is they fail fast. And if something doesn't work for them, they move on from them.
Well, I don't know if I agree. I agree with that maybe as a play. I agree with that in the front office. I don't agree with that on the field. Because it took Mascherano 7 months to bench Suarez last year.
Right. But from a front office standpoint, they will look at something, say, this player isn't working, they will find someone else. And I think they will do that in the summer. But there's a long time to get there. The window's closed. And what they got right now, I don't know what Reguilón's injury.
I think it's a hammy. I think
on and off. Well, I'm saying how quickly you'll be back. So
sure.
I'll say 7 or 8 right now, Armand.
You said 8.
I'm closer to a 5. With how forgiving the MLS season is, the only concern I have is, okay, I'm assuming that Messi is going to go to the World Cup with Argentina, even though it seems like it's not a guarantee. I'm also assuming
it's pretty much a guarantee, buddy.
Well, tell the coaching staff that apparently they don't think so.
Okay.
I think the next part is if they make a deep run the World Cup, how much time is he going to take off? Because the MLS season restarts.
Well, but that's when it comes to Cup. MLS Cup or bust.
And it's like, how long is he gonna be out? But the MLS Cup playoff format is very forgiving. We know this. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, I don't really. An away game doesn't really impact my opinion of Miami versus others. So I'm at a 5. John, you asked a question, so where are you at?
Yeah, I think a 6 because when you look leagues, you said MLS Cup or bust, but no, I think you could say, okay, we've got everyone healthy. Let's give it a go for Leagues Cup, which is what they did when Messi arrived. And if we had the same discussion last year at this time, we all would have kind of said, yeah, they look good, but we were having the same discussion last year at this time. And then by the time MLS Cup came around, it was like, this team is probably going to win MLS Cup. And they did.
2 teams that have been playing really well in recent weeks, the San Jose Earthquakes in the West and Toronto FC in the East. Now, we're going to go each of those teams and say, is their success real right now or is it fake? And let's start out in the East. They played the first game on Saturday, so we'll start out there, Armand.
Dude, it was so fun.
Toronto FC, wild, 3-2 win over Colorado. There was red cards, there was terrible goalkeeping play, but Toronto FC, they have not lost since Josh Sargent came onto the field, Armand. Do you think this success can be sustained? Is this real or is this a mirage?
I want to say neither because that game was just so bizarre.
You can't say neither. You got to say one or the other.
That game was so bizarre on Saturday that
he's trying to push. He's like Wilbon trying to push on PTI.
Yeah.
I think it's fake. I think that they've had a bunch of bizarre circumstances. I mean, I think Robin Fraser is a good coach, and I think he's finally getting time to put together his system. But I'm just not sold on Toronto FC. I don't think they've played super fun soccer by any means, and I don't think what they have is again sustainable. I like Sargent as a whole, but for me, Sargent isn't a player that's going to take over a game, right? Sure, I don't think he's your forward that's going to take over a game. And will they have Mihailovic and those guys? I'm not sold on Walker Zimmerman being your kind of anchor in the back as your center back. I think he's aging.
Well, sure.
And I think there's a lot of questions there. Yeah, you can say that again. I think there's I think there's some questions over there. And
sure, but isn't Sargent the right forward if they are a team that's not creating a lot of chances, but he's pretty economical with the chances that he gets? I think he kind of showed on Saturday that he's a pretty good fit there, and he raises their floor quite a bit.
I mean, he definitely will raise their floor, but is it real or fake? I mean, I think it's fake. If the question was, is their floor going to go up, then yeah, sure. That's the question.
I think, I'm going to take him. I think it's somewhat real, in part because, whenever Vancouver beat Toronto 3-0 several weeks ago, my winner of the week was, if you'll remember, Josh Sargent, because I'm he can step into this team and look amazing, and that's kind of what's happened. I mean, I don't think anyone's saying he's going to be the MVP, but he's scoring goals. They're not losing, and I think in the East you look and it's when the teams that they've avoided defeat against FC Cincinnati. They play them again next weekend. They haven't looked good. We don't really know what to expect from them. The Red Bulls, we'll see, but like a young team, they got a point against them. They beat Columbus, who we think is bad. Colorado, whatever, they're not in the East anyway. But like Philly, Atlanta United, Inter Miami, those are their next Eastern Conference opponents. Like they can get 7 points from those teams without like too much of a lift. And so I think that they could easily finish top 5 in the East, which I think we'd all say after last year is a massive success and might be good enough for in our game of like who adds the most points or whatever that we did before the season. Like they might be able to be that team. So for me, that's enough to say that's a real turnaround.
Yeah, I'll go really quick on this one and say real as well, because I just want to name off these names. I think they're one piece away on offense from really being a good team. Like I think they're probably one good piece away, but Cifuentes, Osorio, Shallowy, Sargent, Larea, that's a pretty good attacking, like up and down spine of the field, wings as well. It's a pretty good mix there. So let's go over to the West and look at the San Jose Earthquakes, because they are crushing it right now. They beat San Diego 3-0 on Saturday, following up that 1-0 win over Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. I'll start us off with this one. I am buying all of the San Jose Earthquake stock I can get right now, because I don't want to throw it straight at FC Dallas, but you look at FC Dallas on this winning streak. They haven't beaten a team that was a playoff team last year. Let's look at the teams they beat. Okay, it's like, let's wait and see, right? What do we need to wait and see on with San Jose? Do they need to beat San Diego? They did it. Do they need to beat Vancouver? They did it. They need to beat LAFC. Well, they play them in a couple weeks, and that's going to be a really good game. And the big reason why I'm buying them more than Toronto is Bruce Arena, right? Like he has a track record. Second year with Bruce Arena, he's got the players in there. And the last thing I'll mention on this too is they are number 2 in the league in expected goal difference. You know how much I love that one. Armand Stat Boy, you love that one. And Nico Shakiris, is that how you say his last name? He was being given a lot of responsibility. He scored a great goal and then a penalty kick as well, John. So San Jose, I'm buying.
I'm still waiting to see on San Jose. I almost tipped over to absolutely real with you because of what Nico Tsakiris did in this game. But the reason that San Jose has been successful is not necessarily what they've done going forward. And we're able to do in this game with a man advantage for most of the game, with Manadua getting sent off the pretty obvious red card. It's what they've done at the back. And while I really like seeing Reed Roberts play as well as he has, and it's great to see him and Daniel Mooney as well, who's like been a kind of a, I think, underrated presence. Like he gets forward. He scored 2 goals in a game a couple weeks ago. Like he's been good. He's been very good. I need to see them sustain that success at the back, because I do think that they're going to be challenged. Even the San Diego team, not only do they go a man down, they're missing a couple players, not Trujillo Sano, but like players who actually play. So I think overall, like I'm still out, and my suspicion is that I'm not saying, fake, but I think they're going to come back to earth a little bit and concede some goals and regress to the mean. If they don't, I mean, they'll be the best team in MLS history, right? I mean, if they only concede 1 goal every 6 games, then they're going to win a lot of games. I just think that as other teams start to have their attack flowing a little better, San Jose will come back to earth. They look like a playoff team for sure. They're absolutely going to be must watch, I think, for the next couple weeks. But I'm hitting the pause button, Armand.
One goal combined between LAFC and San Jose so far this year allowed. So that game in 2 weeks, 5-5 for sure.
But it could be.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Both of you guys didn't mention their marquee signing of the offseason.
He didn't play. Werner. That's another thing.
Exactly. They're not really getting much at Timo Werner right now, and they're still rolling on like this. I think we saw early glimpses of Timo Werner and like what he could do. And as the more he acclimates to the league, the more I feel like he's going to be good. That's why I'm buying stock in San Jose, man. Are they this year's Montreal? Are
they this year's Minnesota? By the way, sorry, not to. No, Montreal.
You're gonna say Montreal.
Do they kind of feel like this year's Minnesota, where they're going to stay above their weight? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but that's kind of thinking.
I don't like.
Not similar style, but
not similar style, but I also like. When I watch San Jose play, I'm like, okay, this is actually like, again, a good and it looks sustainable as well. And I think the one thing that, John, you, I think, mentioned very eloquently was the defense. Like, their problem for many years has been the back line, dating back to the days of Luchi Gonzalez.
Didn't they allow the most goals in MLS like last year or
a couple of years ago? Yes,
like
when you go back to the Luchi Gonzalez days, their offense wasn't the problem. It was their defense that was leaky at the back. It was Daniel making, not you, Daniel, but the goalkeeper, Daniel, making mistakes and playing like, whoa, who is this guy?
It might have been me, actually.
I mean, honestly, maybe, you switch spots. But if they fix up their defense, their offense that really hasn't been a problem, when you look at the advanced metrics, you're talking about a team that's kind of cooking. And one player that, again, it's just amazing to me that Bruce Arena finds guys like Bo LaRue and like just throws them into the lineup, and he just continued to play well over the last couple of seasons. I really like him, and I like what I've seen at Preston Judd as well too, who's an analytics darling, and he's been great when it comes to the XG numbers as well. So for me, I think San Jose is real, and their results are proving it. Add Timo Werner to the mix, and actually get him acclimated to the league.
I'm so skeptical about that, man. I'm
really?
Still so skeptical, but I don't know that you need him to pop if Preston Judd and Sekeres and they have one open DP spot.
And by the way, May 2nd, Toronto versus San Jose. So let's see
the who's real bull.
All right, let's move on to CONCACAF Champions Cup. We are recording on Monday night, but by the time we get this out on Tuesday morning, it will be game day. We have got 4 MLS versus Liga MX matchups. Toluca versus LA Galaxy, LAFC versus Cruz Azul, Seattle versus Tigres, and Club America versus Nashville. I don't know what the order. I think Club America Nashville starts us off on Tuesday, right? So
and then LAFC Cruz Azul on Tuesday. So
gosh, that's a pretty great doubleheader. So Armand, we're going to talk CCC favorite now. You sent the odds to the group earlier, and actually Club America, for some reason, is a very slight betting odds favorite. I think the 3 Liga MX teams were the 3 favorites so far, and then LAFC. But who are you putting as the favorite as we get into the nitty-gritty of the Triple C?
I'm going for Club America's opponent, Nashville.
What? The favorite?
I think so, man. I am buying all of Nashville. Yes, I know they lost against Chicago over the weekend.
Yeah, I don't put anything into that.
But come on, they're looking ahead. They're looking ahead. BJ Callahan presents this very pragmatic style of play, which I think is it makes sense when you watch it, right? Like when you have this core kind of set up where it's not like Gary Smith, where they're kind of like, sitting back, waiting to absorb, etc. But when you have a guy like Hani Mukhtar, when you have a guy like Sam Surridge up top, all it takes is a couple of moments. And Club America, I mean, I know looking directly at this matchup, and I don't want to be on too much of your territory, Daniel, to know that's our next segment right there. But I just when I watched that game series against Miami with Nashville and the way they set up, it was, again, just very pragmatic. Was it pretty? No. But did it get the job done?
They didn't look scared either. They didn't look scared either.
Yes, they got the job done. And I really that team does not know, like you said, does not fear anybody. And it has the firepower to compete, I think, across as well, with Surridge, with Mukhtar, with Mondragal, which we've seen. For me, I'm sold on them when they play.
Where's the second leg of that being played? They're not doing it at Azteca, are they?
I think it's still Ciudad de Deportes. Okay. I don't know that they had they just sent an email today. I'll check.
Okay. All right. Well,
live update.
Yeah, love that one. While John's checking on that, I will give my
No, favorite. It's at Azteca.
It is? Okay. So that makes things a little more spicy. Armand, do you feel like changing your pick right now? Or do
Absolutely
you think
not.
All right, so he's still feeling like Nashville can go to Azteca. I'm actually taking another MLS team, but I'm taking the Seattle Sounders. I talked about them earlier, and the reason why there's some really good reasons why I think the Sounders actually have a really good path here. First off, the way they match up against Tigres, who they blew up against FC Cincinnati, but those were amazing goals that they scored. And at El Volcan, we know these things can happen where the tide can turn really fast, but that's where the first leg is this time.
Exactly, man.
That's not where the second leg is. As you said earlier, John, Sounders already in Texas. If there's any MLS team that you trust to go down to Mexico and just get a 0-0, it's going to be the Seattle Sounders, which I think they can get. And then Tigres going all the way up to Seattle, which, by the way, Tigres has a very, very difficult game in midweek as well. Who do they play?
Chivas. They have Chivas between the Sounders' legs.
They've got Chivas. The Sounders.
Is this game in Spokane, by the way, or is it in Seattle?
I believe the second leg will be in Seattle because they're playing back.
It's at Lumen Field.
Yeah, it's okay. Perfect.
I didn't know there were going to be so many stadium questions today, but I found the document.
Yeah. So they've got to go through that. And then who do they play next if they get through? Nashville or Club America? Well, if you look at the power rankings of like teams they could play, look, I'm throwing LA Galaxy out. I'm sorry. Toluca, LAFC, Cruz Azul, Nashville, Club America. Nashville and Club America, for me, maybe not for Armand, but for me might be the two bottom teams on that power rankings of those five. So I really like where I'm seeing from the Sounders. John, where are you going?
Well, gentlemen, how many times in the modern era of the CONCACAF Champions Cup has an MLS team lifted the trophy?
One of them.
One time. Yeah. So I don't really feel comfortable assigning a favorites tag to any of the four MLS teams remaining.
Neither does Vegas.
It actually does sort of get a little hairy as you start to look at like which Mexican team is in the best shape. Like Toluca is the back-to-back league champion. That Marcel Ruiz injury really hurt. They lost to Querétaro this weekend.
They got beat on the XG too. It wasn't like a fluke where it was like,
and there was some I think they were resting players, and then like a couple of the big guns showed up, but still couldn't get it done. I'm going to pick a team that has actually not won its last 4 games, which is an interesting decision. But Cruz Azul is the favorite for me. They're the defending champion. This weekend they lost to a really good Pachuca team, but they were totally rotated. They didn't.
They're looking at this LAFC game. I mean, it's circled. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, like Eric Lira came in, but like he didn't start. He had a fantastic March with the Mexico national team, but he played I think 80 minutes and then 90 minutes. So I think, hey, let's get you set. Palavecino was suspended because of his weird red card that I think I mentioned on the show that I talked about on TikTok and Instagram. There's a lot of absences in this game that made it so Cruz Azul wasn't at their best. I think they'll be at their best against LAFC. And you look from front to back, it's just such a balanced team. It's a team that understands how it wants to play, a team that has experience, not in the manager's box, but is that what we call it? Technical area. What am I saying? But a team that many of these guys are part of last year's triumph. And the big question, I think, in a lot of ways is like, do they lose Lira when the Liguilla starts, and like, does he come back for Champions? I don't know what's happening there. Right. They still haven't super clarified. But for me, La Máquina can keep rolling on. I'm excited about all 4. Of course I am. I'm a total sicko, but like that series, LAFC Cruz Azul, is such an interesting matchup. And so, I mean, this is what the CCC can do, right? Yeah. These games are going to be. It's a bit of a shame. It's a huge shame that Cruz Azul is playing their home games in Puebla. That definitely takes a lot of the luster off of it. Because if that was, one leg at Azteca, one leg in BMO, that'd be pretty great atmospheres. There will still be Cruz Azul fans at the Cuauhtémoc for that second leg. But I think they're the best team on paper, and I think they've also proved that they know how to play in this tournament.
Second segment of Triple C. We've said who we think are going to win, but now we want to talk about what is the biggest thing you're looking at in the quarterfinals. One storyline, something that really catches your eye. And I'll get us started here because, Armand, you alluded to it a little bit. I'll get this one out of the way. I am wanting to see if Nashville can score enough goals on Club America to get an advantage going into that second leg at Azteca, because I said this in our last preview. Actually, could the Philadelphia Union do it? And if they had scored 1 goal in Philadelphia,
they almost did it too.
They almost did it. They lost 1-0 in the first leg, tied 1-1 in the second leg. We know Club America is a team that is ripe for the taking. This is not the same Club America, because remember, if Tigres has a tough game, who does Club America play this weekend? Cruz Azul. And Cruz Azul, in between the 2 games, Club America plays Cruz Azul. Well, Cruz Azul, they are so far up in the standings, they can throw that game against Club America if they need to, or at least rotate. Club America's 2 points out of not making the Liguilla right now. Like, that is a actual possibility with 4 games left. So if Nashville can go at them and get a 2-0 win, I think they can hold it at Azteca, which would be a monumental upset for MLS. Imagine going through Inter Miami and Club America, arguably the two biggest teams in North America in terms of prestige in a lot of ways. We could talk about that another day. I
don't know that I would put Inter Miami in that category quite yet, but
I'm rage baiting John right now. But I just want to see, because to me, it is all about, is Nashville going to push? Are they going to push forward? We did not see that against Miami. They survived. I think it would be a tough ask to do it at Azteca. They need to bring a result away, John, in that matchup.
Yeah. Am I supposed to give mine now, or am I supposed to react to what you said?
Whatever you feel like.
My question, what I'm watching is, will sun shine? I mentioned that series between LAFC and Cruz Azul is the one that I've got the most on.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was good.
And you're just gonna gloss over that.
I know. You deserve your flowers for that.
Yeah, come on. We need to give you will sun shine.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it shines.
Fantastic against Orlando City, but Cruz Azul is going to have a better center back pairing than Nolan Miller and David Breckel. They're going to have a better goalkeeper than Maxime Croupeau. They're going to have better midfielders. It's all around going to be a better situation. They do have a manager, yes. Son, I think and even my friend Steve Hahn, the Korean American journalist in LA, he's on the Sun beat, as he should be. And he asked Mark Dos Santos after the Orlando City game, hey, what did you make of Son? People have started to say, he's not really scoring, but then he had 4 assists. Which is obviously contributing to the team, obviously helping the attack. And Dos Santos made a point that he's I think people are Son is under too much of a microscope. He is doing great things, even if he's not putting the ball in the back of the net. And so far, what do you really need him to do other than what he's done? LAFC's in a great situation. I'm paraphrasing greatly here. That was just the tone of what his comments were. But these are the games where he has to show up. This is why he was brought to LAFC, why they spent as much money as they did. And so when you look at this type of game, the fact that Dos Santos decided to play him in Honduras, I think really served them well. It was a tough series that they had against Liga. Now they're playing a team that's much more quality and in an atmosphere that's going to be different than maybe anything even a player as well-traveled as Son has ever played in before. So I'm watching what he does. And what Bouanga does. He was so critical in the first leg of the series against Real España. He's been good in basically every other game since. He comes in after smashing Orlando City. So my question is kind of what those attackers are able to do against a defense that's been together much longer, that understands its idea much better, a goalkeeper that's better as well than I think any they've faced so far this year, no matter who starts, if it's Gudiño or I think it'll be Kevin Yet. But whoever it is, can sunshine and help LAFC break through what's a stingy Cruz Azul backline, Armand.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, too, what the fan breakdown is in that game, how Cruz Azul fans will travel to LA. I bet it'll be pretty full, but is it going to be like a Tigres-type thing where they take over half the stadium, or kind of what's the fan breakdown going to be there? But, Armand, what are you watching for this week?
The Galaxy-Toluca game, which...
We haven't talked about it at all.
I think if you're, watching it as, just going into it, Toluca should blow them out. That's what I think the thought process is. But the Galaxy actually haven't been playing that bad. If you look at some of the advanced numbers, they actually have been playing pretty well. But my question, again, they haven't getting the results, right? They lost to Minnesota 2-1 over the weekend, and they lost to SKC, even though they probably should have won that game.
Aren't good teams to lose to.
They did not look good against, I want to say St. Thomas. They did not look good in those games.
Mount Pleasant.
I don't know why I said
what are you referring to?
Well, I think isn't Mount Pleasant a D3 school, and isn't St. Thomas also a D3 school? And don't they play each other quite a bit?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, weird pull for this podcast. But the Galaxy defensively have been leaky, and can their possession style of play, they want to play this attacking possession style of play, kind of slow down Toluca? I think it's from an entertainment perspective, it's going to be a really fun series between the result.
Remember the Campeones Cup last year? We would have thought Toluca would have blown LA Galaxy out of the water, and that turned out to be an absolute shootout.
Even though Paintsol is
obviously different teams. It's not exactly the same team,
right? But I think
I don't remember Campeones Cup, but yes, that's a good
great game.
Wow.
Oh wow,
it was a fantastic game.
Pulled one over.
There's been a lot in John's life since that moment.
I only recognize CCC and Leagues Cup.
Fair. But like, I think the Galaxy can go band for band with Toluca. I just don't know if they will go band for band for them. I think though, from an entertainment perspective, like, look, do I think Seattle and Tigres will be entertaining? I think it's going to be a very okay. We're going to kind of figure,
be dramatic, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I think the same thing with Nashville and America as well too. The way we've seen BJ Callahan kind of set up his teams and Hardin as well. I think the two more entertaining series are going to be, as John talked about, LAFC and Cruz Azul, and I think Galaxy and Toluca. Because what does the Galaxy have to lose? Like, they have not. They're struggling right now in MLS.
The pressure is a little bit off compared to MLS, where it feels like results are kind of snowballing right now, and it's like,
right,
where are we going to get our points? In this, it's like, hey,
just go for it.
I agree, but my concern is that I would argue that that's sort of how they had in the other two series, and they didn't. The series against St. Thomas, the series against Mount Pleasant, like, I don't know, you can sort of put that out, like, and of course, like, oh, they won both legs 3-0, so it's like hard to sort of like nitpick, but at the same time, like, I don't think they were dominant in the series in the way they should have been, and they were really not good against Sporting San Miguelito. So I agree, this should be the competition where you feel like you can take your chances, but it's the one that Toluca has its sights set on. So for me, they're the least likely MLS team to advance. Absolutely could do it. I hope that you're right, and it's a fun attacking series, but I think we might be talking about a lot more goals from Toluca, even without Marcel Ruiz, who people are saying might make the World Cup. Very odd, but yeah.
We are recording this podcast on Monday, April 6th, 2026, 30 years to the day of the very first MLS game on April 6th, 1996. And we wanted to talk about, in segment number 6, where we like to have fun as much as possible, our kind of introductions to MLS, first memories of the league. What got us into it? John, why don't you kick us off with kind of your nascent MLS memories?
Man, I was there when it started as basically a 6-year-old. I remember my grandparents taking me to Arrowhead Stadium. Definitely the first player that like broke through my consciousness was Preki. Tony Meola, like I've been able to interview him and kind of like gotten to chop it up with him about his memory of like the Kansas City Wiz before they were the Wizards and the Wizards, and playing in Arrowhead Stadium, which was like such a cool moment too. You know, there's a lot of like Cold Heroes as well. Digital. I never learned how to say his last name. I was a 6-year-old, so who cares? But Digital Takirowa, the Zimbabwe international.
Terry Zavagnin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were some legends on that Wiz then Wizards team. So I remember the league starting, and then, you know, a couple years later, like, man, it's funny the stuff that sticks with you when you're a kid, right? Like, I remember being handed like a wall calendar for the 1998 World Cup with, you know, the groups and the bracket, and you're supposed to put in the score and fill in the bracket. At the time, my family had ESPN, but we didn't have ESPN2, and so I got a friend's mom to tape every game on ESPN2 so I could watch the games on the VHS tape and fill in the brackets. So, you know, the sicko signs were there. You know, I'm sure my family was concerned, but yeah, Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City Wiz. I didn't move to North Texas until 2001. So for a long time, that was my team. That was what I went to. And just the memory, you know, I don't remember goals or games or anything, but I remember, like, I think his name was Wizardosaurus, like the dinosaur that they had, the Got Milk activations outside the game, getting my Sports Illustrated for Kids card signed by Preki.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, like, look, obviously things have changed. I think there are still some of those moments for fans in MLS, which make it cool. But, like, you know, when you're a kid and you have that access, you just, like, you're in. You can't beat that.
And that access actually was what kind of brought me in. I wasn't a kid. I wasn't really, I think I may have gone to a game. The first game I went to was actually in 2001. Freddie Adu brought me in. I remember I went with my youth pastor to a game against DC United. And it was a game that had actually gotten delayed because of 9/11. And it got delayed a few weeks, which was kind of crazy. But that access is what got me in, because once I got my car, and I could drive, I started going to the games at the Cotton Bowl, and I met the supporters group, and I couldn't believe that like the players would just interact with them, and these fans would chant at players. I remember Jason Christ getting mad because it was actually Eric Quill that was playing really bad, and some of our fans were heckling him, and I just thought that was so crazy. So those were my initial memories. Is like, wow, these players can hear everything you're saying. I'm used to going to Rangers games. I'm used to going to basketball games where you're kind of just, you're not active as a part of the game. And it's funny you mentioned Kansas City as well, because what really hooked me too was the road tripping. And the very first road trip I took to watch an FC Dallas, it was actually the Burn, was a US Open Cup game at Overland Park against the Kansas City Wizards. And we lost like 3 or 4-0 in front of like 1,000 people. But I just thought it was so fun. I think it was the first time I'd taken a road trip like anywhere. I can't believe my parents let me go, because I was like 18 going with a bunch of like adults that they didn't know to an overnight Open Cup game, like soccer game in Kansas City. But it hooked me. And then I actually went to the very next year in 2005, I went to a game at Arrowhead. And that was that was the first year of FC Dallas. It was a really good team with Ronnie O'Brien, Eddie Johnson, and there was one other, there was an attacking trio, and I can't remember
David Wagenfuhr?
Oh yeah, he was the right back on that team.
Yeah.
It was Eddie Johnson, Ronnie O'Brien. And Carlos Ruiz. And Carlos Ruiz. Yeah. They just signed Ruiz, and that team was devastating. They beat Kansas City 3-0, destroyed them. Armand, I know we're dating you a little bit here. You were still a young tyke back in 2004, 2005. But what's your kind of first memory? You went with your dad, right?
No, that wasn't my first memory. My first memory was playing FIFA 04 on Nintendo DS with MLS, and I would use I think it was FC Dallas at the time. Yeah,
where 2004 was the Burn.
Was it 04? One of those, because Jeff Cassar was on the team.
Okay, 05. Yeah,
Valakari was also on the team as well. Mm-hmm. I remember those. Mm-hmm. Which, for those who don't know, Simo Valakari is Oni Valakari's dad, or Simo Valakari is Oni Valakari's dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I would, because I grew up in Frisco, I would go to the games very rarely though. My dad hated MLS. I think he still does. He's like, "Why would you watch?" He's like, "American soccer is garbage. I'm watching Premier League." And I'm like, "Okay." With every limited chance,
watching Estegali.
And
okay, St. Thomas. I was closer than Mount Pleasant.
Yeah. And from there, it kind of grew, but I was just kind of watching MLS like in my own like time, like, so my parents wouldn't watch it because I'm like, whatever, this is not fun. And then I'd have to beg them to go to games, and they would never want me to go to games because they were like, whatever. So I would just like figure out some friends to go watch Breck Shea play, before he went to Stoke City. I fell in love with Fabian Castillo. He's my favorite player, like growing up watching him, like just super fun, just super fast, super quick. And from there, it kind of grew. I mean, I remember watching a lot of MLS on NBC, a lot with Arlo White. Like that was like where I watched a lot of MLS on there. Where Dallas would go play San Jose at Buck Shaw Stadium before they moved into PayPal Park and all that good stuff. So it was pretty early on. But I do have a little memory of Burn stuff, not as much, but very I think. We went to one game, but I barely remember it, in maybe the 2000s. But mainly my intro to MLS was the FC Dallas era.
What year were you born again?
97, so I'm younger than MLS.
So you would have been 7 years old the last season of the Burn. So, hey, maybe so. But yeah, no, it's crazy to think 30-year anniversary today. That is nuts. So, yeah, here's to 30 more years, guys. And here is to a great week of CONCACAF Champions Cup. We will be back to talk about it before the second legs next week on The Hex.